things in my hand because we're going to talk about those. Hi. Welcome an hour early. I've been doing this on Wednesdays at 10. Those who are joining, I'm not going to try to pronounce names because y'all's handles are tough. Ooh, I should turn off my alarm. Don't need that going on. Yeah, so I'm not going to try to pronounce your names. But hello, welcome joining our little live stream. I do these a couple times a week on Sundays at 5 p.m. Central. And then I was doing them. My little cup is not showing what it says. It says wifey. I was doing them Wednesdays at 10 Central. I decided to move this to Wednesdays at 9 because I just think it's a little late to do 10. Plus, I'm exhausted at that point. Hubby's been leaving for work a little bit earlier, so there's that. So he just left. I have something going on with my lips. I don't know what it is, but I had a reaction to something, but I think it might be a combination of some things. I put some stuff on that kind of dried it out a little bit, and then I put some stuff on to kind of heal it, and that seems to have made it worse. And then I put like a plumping thing on that I got from LA Girl, and I have a suspicion that that might have backfired on me. So I have like super dry lips lately. They don't have the redness that they had a couple days ago though. So hopefully we're okay. So, but welcome and thank you for joining. And this is when we get together and talk about fun things. Tonight, we're going to talk about, I want to talk about how I don't know, this could actually get me like kicked off of some places. People might not like the wording, but self-medicated. Self-medicated my PCOS. So if you have PCOS or know somebody who has PCOS, or if you're just interested in that sort of thing, like the possibilities of kind of, yeah, and I will say right up front, I am not any sort of a professional. I do not recommend doing what I did. In fact, you probably can't do what I did because I had extenuating circumstances that allowed it to work out for me. But I'm going to tell you what happened for me because I think that there are forms of what I did that can help people with PCOS. So I'll tell you kind of a little bit of my story. I've had PCOS as far as I know my whole life. I hit puberty when I was 8 years old. And I actually had my period for about a year before my mom figured it out because I didn't have a real open relationship with my mom. And so my sister, my mom was just, she was going through her own stuff. So she was just kind of mentally and emotionally not present there. So my sister showed me everything I needed to know. She was a couple years older than I was. And so she and I actually got our periods about the same time, within a month or two of each other. And my mom had shown her. And so she passed that information on to me. And then I started to develop physically really, really early, and soon thereafter started to get the symptoms of PCOS. So I don't understand the condition, but I'm very interested in learning about it. And so if you have input on it, you have experiences on it, please let me know. In the meantime, we're going to talk about non-PCOS related stuff, which includes some pretties that I got. I always like to show you guys what I'm getting and what I'm working on. And my current obsession is, and actually I have a little gift bag full of empties down here that I would like to, at some point go through. And it's basically full and overflowing. So I might do that on Sunday. I'm not sure, or I might do it next week. We'll see. But it's kind of fun just to go. I like to watch people go through their empties and kind of see what they would buy and wouldn't buy, and if they enjoyed it and that kind of stuff. My empties are really way less exciting than a lot of people's empties. So my dog likes to make noise and play when I'm doing this. So you'll hear her nails on the floor sometimes, and Hear her tossing things around. Are you okay there, Rainbow? You lose something? Looks like she lost something in her blankie, so that's okay. That'll keep her entertained for a while. So, yes, I've been really super into eyeshadow palettes. As you might know, if you've been around, I know I've got a bunch of new followers on IG. My YouTube is pretty quiet, but that's okay. I keep putting videos out there and improving the quality, hopefully. And so hopefully we don't have the yeah, I'm working on it, guys. I'm not super technologically inclined, but I'm working on it and trying to stay within the budget that we're getting. So the one I've been working on now, this is the last week of April. So what I do is every week I have one palette that I do for 5 days, and I use that palette and do 5 looks. I have a look from the palette we're going to be looking at, which you can kind of see. It's hanging on there, but I did take a nap this afternoon, and so that's kind of what's remaining. Most of my face makeup is off, but you know, whatever. It's all good. I didn't feel like redoing my makeup for this, so this is what you get. The glasses are from, I think these are from Wear Light. I believe these are from Wear Light. This guy is from Forever 21. I had a little haul that just showed up a couple weeks ago, and I did actually review that or go through it. I didn't review it, but in one of my live streams. So my current palette that I've been using for these 5 days, this is day 3, and this is the Profusion Nude Bliss. I really, really like Profusion. I have not had a bad palette. There are 2 palettes that are kind of more questionable, that just aren't as good as the other ones. But I still don't think they're bad. There's actually one of them is here on the bubble for next week. So I'm going to go through this one. This is the Neon palette. I haven't done a whole lot with this. I've done a couple of little kind of looks here and there and swatched it and kind of played with it a little bit, but there's only one shimmer in here. And I think that's where they kind of get into a little bit of trouble, is when they go into the real colorful stuff with a shimmer. Doesn't seem like they're able, I mean, these are harder to do. They're just harder to do. And so it doesn't seem like they have as much success with that. The little clicking of the nails, that's her playing with her squeaky toy. And you hear the squeaky toy squeaking. That's how it works. Rainbow likes to be here, and she's a mama's girl, so she loves to be with her mama. Anyway, so that's one that I'm going to be doing, and I think I'm going to be combining that with a couple of my kind of one and done shadows. What are you doing? Are you going to try to get underneath there and get yourself all tangled up in my cables? Don't do that, baby girl. So she has to come see who I'm talking to. Yeah, they are really hard to work with. And so I'm trying, and I'm not very good at it either. Also, because I wear glasses, I kind of, that's a different challenge in doing eyeshadow looks, because you're going to have shadows that come from the glasses. And also you kind of have to work within the frame and with the color and with all those kinds of things. So I've been working with it. I have not been super successful, but neons are one level up as far as being a little bit more easy, I think, than pastels. I think pastels are a little bit even harder to work with, just to get any sort of anything. But sometimes actually some of these neons look like pastels because, if you share them out or you just don't get the pigment on them or whatever. So you'll see if you hang out and you kind of check my stories. I put all my looks on my stories so you can kind of get an idea. So yeah, they are, neon colors are definitely harder for me to work with, but I'm figuring it out. I'm learning as the rest of us. But this one is very, very neutral. This is a beautiful palette. There is one glitter in here. I actually enjoy that one. I don't mind glitter. I'm using this glitter glue from AOA Studio. I want to try the NYX one that everybody says is so fantastic and see if that's any better than this. I assume that they're pretty close. This one is fantastic. I put the glitter on and it stays 10 hours or more, basically until I take it off. And you can see I have super hooded eyes. If I get into the RBF, my resting face, right? The lids completely, I mean, they go right down to the eyelash. So they actually push down on the eyelash, the folded part there. So such is life. But I've got some pretty cute color, pretty cute looks. This is very neutral. I think, you know, it definitely could probably have been half of this as far as the colors, but it's really nice. It's really pretty. I think it's great for a basic neutral palette. So the other one that I have on the bubble, I haven't really decided what the ones are the ones are that I'm going to do for May, but this one is going to be in the May rotation. So I will be using the Neon Profusion palette again, like I said, with some other things. I've got some liquid liners and I've got some kind of one and done shadows to top it with and stuff like that. So I'll see how that works with this. And then of course this one is a shimmer, and it's a really kind of fun chartreuse yellow green color there. So that's going to be fun to work with. The other one that I'm going to be doing is this one here, which is the it's there. It's in my brain. Oh, it's right here. Samantha March. Thank you. The O for Samantha March collab. And I've gotten this. I've done a couple of looks. I really love the color scheme on this as far as being a more neutral palette from my perspective. But I also like that it has the face palette. I think that really kind of pulls it together. Yes, thank you. Samantha March. I know. I knew it. It was there. It was in my brain. I just, you know. I've had headaches lately. Oh my goodness. I have like a tense neck, and I've just had like tension in general. And so whatever. But yeah, so that will be one of the other ones that I play with in May. And then I haven't decided the other two that I'm going to put into it. I've got a few new ones and I've got a bunch of old ones. I know it's such a beautiful palette. I love that one too. But I've got, you know, my palettes all over here on the side. Here, let me turn you a little bit, IG, so you can see. So there's books on all the shelves except that one middle one, right? There you're seeing my webcam that I'm using for YouTube, and then YouTube turn you guys so you can kind of see. So there's my palettes in that shelf right there. I decided to add those into my bookshelf. So, and then you can see all the crazy reading that I do. So, okay, not crazy, but diverse. So I got from Juvia's Place. I love Juvia's Place and have had extremely good luck with them. I was wanting to get the Walhalla palette, the Walhalla 2. For some reason, I saw somebody's look with it, and I'm like, I need that palette, Walhalla 2. And this was at a time that Walhalla 1 was available. And I was like, no, I don't really want that. I want Walhalla 2. And so I waited, and then Walhalla 2 was available. And then I looked at it again, and I was like, do I really want that one? Because it's so like green and blue, which are not necessarily the colors I wear a lot. I do wear them. I like color, but they're not like my go-tos necessarily. I don't know. I mean, purple, besides purple, what is the go-to? And there are no purples in the Walhalla 2, but there are in the Walhalla 1. So then I was like, maybe I want Walhalla 1, but now it's sold out. So hopefully they'll bring that back. Anyway, I had a few things in my cart, and then they sent a notification that said Walhalla 2 is now on sale for like 55% off or something like that. It was like, I think it was more than 50%. So it was like $17 and something. It's normally like almost $40, like $38. So I got it. This is what she looks like. So I'm sure you guys have all seen this. This is not new. But I am really interested to use this one. I do love this duochrome, multi-chrome here. It's really gorgeous. It's got like a green, blue, pink, purple. I don't know what the shift is. It's really fantastic. I think the reason people gripe about this one is there's so many pressed glitters. I don't mind pressed glitters. I think they're kind of fun. I do. Oh, this does actually have purples in, but they're more on the blue side. But it does have this one purple glitter, which I think I'll get use out of. And then as far as this row here, this row is pretty much purple, but it's more on the periwinkle side, which I love because I love periwinkles. But yeah, and it's nice. It's nice to have that, but more of a cool tone, sort of blue leaning purple right here. Oops, I just went into it. And then this one is blue. This one is teal. Then we have an orange, the pinks and pinkish. I'm not really showing it to you guys. And then we got like the silvers over on this end, which is a really interesting, having silvers, like a whole row of silvers, I think is interesting. And they are unique enough. So I think I'm going to really enjoy playing with this. I'm hoping that I can get into this either in the summertime, or possibly I was thinking this might be a really fun one to break out like in the January, February months when I'm like needing a really big burst of color. But I think that this is good. I think I love the colors. I love the variety. I love the color story. But I do think that the Walhalla one might have fit me better. And so I'm still kind of holding my breath, hoping I can get that one. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But anyway, this is now introduced into the fam. That is my collection of palettes. So, and then I got 3 more. So this actually, so I got them on sale, and then plus I put a coupon on that was 20% off, and it went 20% off everything, including what's on sale. That's one of the nice things about Juvia's place is you can get, almost always you can get something that is half price of the listed price or less, because they have frequent sales, and then frequent sales. And then they also will do coupons on top of sale. And not a lot of places will do that. So that's really cool about Juvia's place. So I grabbed these other 3, and I was looking at bright colors. So I grabbed this one, which is the Festival. And I'm totally digging this one. It is all mattes except for this bottom / top row, depending on how you're looking at it. But I do like the fact that they're, oh wait, I'm sorry, this is not a matte, this is a shimmer as well. So it's just slightly over half matte. But I do really like that. I love this yellow here, this mustard yellow. I think that's such a unique, this is mustard. I don't know if you can really tell, but this is a mustard yellow. It's showing up on IG, but not on YouTube. So the way I set this up, I put my phone on IG and I put my computer on YouTube, and I say, hey, howdy to all of you guys at the same time. And then my dog walks underneath and bumps against the table. Hey, that's what works. This is a really nice peach color that's quite well pigmented. I just love the way these perform. The 3 reddish, pinkish colors in here, you know, I mean, do I need that many reds in my life? Maybe not, but it's really beautiful. So I'm excited to have that one. These are not necessarily the ones that I was really craving. There's a couple others that I really want. But there's also some, like I really want the Tribe palette, and I really want the Deuce palette. And I know Deuce is discontinued, maybe Tribe is as well. And who knows if I'll be able to get them, but I keep bugging Juvia's place and saying, please bring it back. So maybe they'll listen to me. I know other people are asking as well. When I go on their threads, everybody's like, when are you bringing Deuce back? So hopefully they listen. This is the Warrior 3. And it is a very beautiful, almost rainbow color scheme. You have almost everything in here. Hi, Rainbow. How are you? I said Rainbow. My dog's name is Rainbow, so I said Rainbow, and she came and bumped against me and said, what do you want, Mom? Was I talking about you? Yeah, I was talking about you. Okay. So this is all mattes except for these 2, which are shimmers. I do think that's really nice, and I think that the mattes in Juvia's place are really great. I will have fun comparing the mattes here to the mattes in this, just to see. I mean, I know there's not a comparison, but I think that it'll be interesting to compare those and see how the performance is different, and, you know, curiosity. But I think that this, as a rainbow palette, this one has a little glitter piece stuck in the middle. That's shining bright like a diamond. Anyway, so I think that having these, they're such an interesting color scheme, but they really do a lot of reds. Their reds also do, their reds and their pinks stain. So there is a little bit of that. But hey, you know, that's life. I'm not going to complain too much about that. And then this one is the Saharan 2. And this one, these are all shimmers in these 2 rows here, and these are your mattes. It's interesting because these mattes look like they're all pretty much kind of the same, just a little different tones. But this one is actually a bright fuchsia, and this one is an orange. And then this one is more of a brown. So they're quite different. They're not true to pan. But this is, I'll show you here, this one comes off as a really bright pink. So that's quite different than what you're seeing in the pan here. I mean, it's the same tone. You could say, oh yeah, I see that, but it just doesn't come off this deep, like burgundy brownish color. And then these shimmers are all really beautiful. I mean, this one, this peach color here is really gorgeous. That's so pretty. And this light green here, see if I get that in a spot, you can see. And that's just gorgeous too. That's like is that a duochrome? Yeah, that's like a duochrome. Although I may have messed it up because I may have used the same finger that I swatched the red with. So let me actually clean my hand off. So with this slightly dirty wipe that I was doing other swatches with. Anyway, that wasn't quite true to form, but yeah, I think I swatched it with the same finger I swatched that one with. So anyway, these are really beautiful shimmers. I will really enjoy using these and playing with them and kind of getting a feel for them. So it's interesting because I hear people talking about you see how much that one stains there? It's like I'm rubbing it off and it's still like stuck into my pores. People will talk about the different palettes coming up and they're like, you know, it's colors versus neutrals and kind of all these, you know, arguments essentially as far as what people are looking for and what makes a good palette and what makes a good color story and what makes a bad color story and all this kind of stuff. And I say for the most part, for me, I like to get a palette that I can use by itself. So even like that neon palette from Profusion kind of is a bummer because I want to be able to use it by itself. And I can use it by itself, but I feel like it doesn't have as much potential if I don't incorporate something else into it, whether it's a topper or some sort of shimmer shade or something else. That kind of just adds depth, or even like a black or gray or something that, you know, something that can kind of add a little bit of depth and dimension to it. So I really like a palette that gives me the whole, like, it gives me a direction to go in and then I use it. So when I get different palettes, it's not because I don't already have that color. It's because I want to use the palette by itself and I like the palette as a whole. So each of those Juvia's Place, I think they give such a unique look and twist, and how I can put them together is going to be really interesting. So this is the other thing that Juvia's Place sent me. So this is the Nubian Mini. I have the full size, or yeah, I do have the full size Nubian up here in the collection. And so I'm going to keep this one sealed and I'm putting it in my giveaway box. So I have a growing giveaway box over here. And I think I'm going to do a giveaway when it gets to 5K on IG. So we're over 4K now. We hit that last week or this week maybe. And so I'm like, okay, 5K, that's a good, nice round number. And so that's what we're planning on. So my phone just buzzed and kind of knocked you guys off center. So there we go. So stick around and we'll have giveaways because I'm getting a few different things. And I may actually pull up a few things that I really enjoy and add those. I don't know. We'll see what's up. So anyway, okay. So we're talking about PCOS and how I self-medicated myself into management. And somebody posted on IG that there was like a meme that said how to reverse your PCOS. And it said certain things like drinking a certain kind of tea. It wasn't cinnamon, although cinnamon tea is really good for you for PCOS because it helps to moderate your blood sugar. And so it's cinnamon tea. In fact, I use cinnamon a lot. I put it in my tea if I drink coffee, which I am not doing more, I'm doing it on the weekends sometimes, but I put it in that, and I'll put it in basically, I mean, cinnamon is good for anything. So use cinnamon a lot. It's good for you. It does you good. And then it says go for a walk. That's always walking is the best exercise you can do for PCOS. Don't over exercise. That is one of the big problems that people with PCOS have, because they get panicked because they're putting on weight without trying, or without, they haven't changed anything, and suddenly they've gained all this weight. They panic. And so they start to exercise a whole bunch, and that makes everything worse. And it was like eating protein with every meal. So the advice it was giving was really good. But the issue that I had with the meme is not the advice it gave, because the advice it gave was good, but that it said you can reverse your PCOS. You can't reverse your PCOS, at least not at this point. Maybe at some point we'll understand it enough to be able to say, yeah, you can do these things to reverse it. This is not that time. So what I'm trying to say instead is not let's reverse our PCOS, but instead, how do we minimize the symptoms so that we can manage it and that we can live with it? And my experience is not necessarily the experience that you are having or would have or will have if you do anything that I am going to suggest. So here's what happened, and I'm feeling free to offer this, because I know that what I did as far as self-medicating, that's not accessible for the majority of people who will be watching this, the vast majority of people who will be watching this. And so I don't feel like I'm putting people in danger, but just don't be a dummy. That's my advice to you. Don't be a dummy. Don't do something stupid. Make sure you're researching. Do check with doctors. I mean, I don't trust doctors. I think doctors are human beings. And we got to remember that on both sides. They're not bad people. So I'm not going to say doctors are bad because they're doctors, but I'm also not going to say doctors are necessarily infallible because they're doctors, right? Doctors make mistakes. And so that's one of the issues. Again, those of us that have PCOS or any sort of issue, you understand, if you go to a doctor and the doctor has not personally dealt with that same issue, they're not going to understand it. And so if you have PCOS and you, like I, have lived decades with PCOS, you probably understand PCOS better than a doctor who doesn't have it, especially a male doctor who can't really relate to any of that hormonal stuff in the same way. So they're just studying it from an intellectual perspective where we are experiencing it. So we understand, our bodies intuitively just because we've been dealing with our bodies this long. So I think that's an important thing, but still don't be stupid. Do your research, talk to your doctor. If your doctor sucks, get a better doctor. I mean, don't have patience for somebody who doesn't understand and is blaming you. You don't get you don't get PCOS from being fat. This is something we need to understand. You don't get PCOS from being fat. You get fat from having PCOS. All right. Not everybody gets fat from having PCOS, obviously. And not everybody with PCOS gets fat. But those of us who do have PCOS and struggle with weight, generally, if you look back, your hormonal issues started first and then you got fat. And that's my case. So, but what will happen is doctors are like, well, if you just lose the weight, it'll resolve it. That's not true. All right. Now, it can sometimes be managed with weight loss surgery. But for me, the issues that are around weight loss surgery, including social issues and my own emotional issues, I mean, just the fact of, not that it's an emotionally, volatile thing, or that I'm in an emotionally volatile place, but the whole point is that if you are dealing with PCOS, you are in a place where, if you're dealing with weight, let's say it that way, and you lose a bunch of weight, it is going to affect you. It's going to affect the people around you. It's going to affect the way people relate to you. And that affects everything about you. It affects the way people see you. And I didn't want that. So I purposefully chose to not have weight loss surgery. My webcam here is not really wanting to focus. I don't know what it's focusing on. I think it's focusing on the chair behind me. Let me try to move it just a little bit. Anyway, so for PCOS, I think it's really important to understand that it comes first, and then these other things, including weight, come after, and lethargy and those sorts of things. So being very tired all the time, those kinds of things. And again, it affects everyone differently. You got to understand that too. So just because something worked for me does not mean it's going to work for you. I am still fat, so that was not resolved with what my self-medication tactic, but what did get resolved was my irregular periods. And that was the worst thing for me, because with that would come extreme fatigue. So I would have a period for months where I was bleeding consistently every day for extended period of time, up to 6 months. And then I wouldn't have, sometimes I would have, like 1 6 month long period in a year and then nothing else for, months and months after that. And I know that's not abnormal for people with PCOS. But again, with that, there would come extreme hair loss. I was essentially bald. You were seeing very visible scalp. I had tons of hormonal issues with skin, with emotional issues, with depression, with extreme fatigue, and then medical, I would be sick all the time because my immune system was so depleted that there was nothing to fight back. So what happened is when I went to Haiti, so I spent several years in Haiti working at a university as a professor there, and I still teach at that university remotely. But now we had to leave because of civil unrest and whatnot. And then later, because of COVID, we had to leave the DR. We went to the DR to escape the unrest, and then we were planning to go back, and that didn't work because we had to get out because of the COVID situation and just not being able to work. Anyway, that's not the story. So the story is how we resolved, or how we addressed, meaning myself, addressed myself and my other personalities, how I addressed my PCOS. So when I went there, the doctor, seemed to he was a specialist in fertility, and he was Haitian. And I told him, this is what I have, and these are the symptoms. And then he proceeded to go to the internet and read basically off the screen, this is what you have, and these are the symptoms. And I was like, yeah, that's what I just told you. And then they put me through all the tests because they could. And, they got paid for it and whatnot. And we paid for all that kind of stuff. I mean, which is fine. I mean, the cost of going to the doctor in Haiti, like all of these tests and everything, were less than what would be like one office visit for a nurse here. So it was still considerably less expensive. But what he put me on essentially what we would call Clomid here. So it was our version of Clomid that they had there. And I looked it up and checked it out to see what it was before I started to take it. And I was already familiar with Clomid because I had already researched that. And I had been on that for a short time, a couple of times. But the issue in the United States is they put you on Clomid, and then they want to regulate you. So essentially you have to go in every month for another checkup or whatnot. And that just got where I couldn't keep up that schedule with my existing schedule. And then there were other times that I didn't necessarily want to take Clomid because it is a fertility stimulant. It's not really a fertility medicine, but it can kind of stimulate fertility. And at that point, I wasn't in a place where I wanted to, I was in a kind of volatile relationship that I wasn't quite ready to make that choice. And so I went off of it. And then when I went on it again, the reason I went off is because of scheduling. So when I went on it in Haiti, I was kind of like, well, it doesn't matter at this point. I was 41 years old, I believe, when I went on it. And I decided that I would monitor myself, essentially. So what I did is I took it as prescribed for the amount of time, and then I would test myself, make sure I wasn't pregnant, because you do not want to take Clomid when you are pregnant, because it can cause miscarriages and problems like that. primarily miscarriages. It is a progesterone hormone, but it's an intense version of progesterone. And so I would take it, and then I would test myself. Now in Haiti, you can go to any pharmacy, name of the medication, they will give it to you. So there's not a prescription needed. There's nothing officially needed. Now, again, don't do this. I am telling you not to do this, but I did it, and it did work for me. But you probably can't do that in the developed world or the minority world or whatever you want to call the Western world with all the regulations. So you can't necessarily do this on your own. But I did make the choice to do this, and again, I monitored myself, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and keep on the schedule. And I did. And I stayed on Clomid for about a year, and it might have been more than that. I don't know exactly how long it was. Eventually, I went off, and I kind of weaned myself. I mean, I would do like a month, and then I wouldn't do the next month, and then I would, and then I just stopped because I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. Because I was extremely regular at this point. I was noticing things like my hair loss was reversed. My other issues were, related to those irregularities were reversed. Not reversed, but they weren't, they weren't there. They had disappeared. And so I have not taken it since. And that has been about probably 3 years since I last took the equivalent of Clomid. And it was interesting because they called it Hardamon, Hardamon, I think is what it's called. And the picture on the box was of a penis, which was interesting because it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It should be like female reproductive organs, not male reproductive organs. But it was just a funny thing that they kind of had the marketing. It basically was like, this is how you get your girl pregnant, is have her take this medicine. I guess that's what they were trying to do. So, but the marketing on the box and the name of it and whatnot were interesting. So that I am now 45, heading towards 46, quite quickly, and that has kept me regular. I've not done anything else, and I haven't modified any other of my behaviors as far as exercise, diet, and that sort of thing. But it did definitely, because I just didn't have the fatigue. I was walking a lot more. I was just being more active. I did for a while went off sugar completely. Well, I should say processed sugar. Somebody got mad at me for saying processed sugar. They're like, see, that's diet culture language. And I'm like, no, processed sugar is literally a definition of the sugar that's not just naturally occurring in things like fruits and bread and basically meat and everything that, everything has sugar in it, right? And so that is naturally occurring sugar, which you can't avoid eating because everything has sugar in it. But when it comes to things like, Coke and cookies and cakes and things like that, I went off that for a while, and I did drop weight really quickly. But then as soon as I went back on, I went right back up to my regular weight. That's what my body is going to stay at. And I don't anticipate staying off of sugar indefinitely because, it meant like eliminating basically breads and all of those kinds of things, processed carbs. Can we say processed carbs? Because it wouldn't include potatoes or rice, because I would have potatoes and rice. I had all of the meat. I had all of the other stuff. That was no problem. I just continued to eat all of that stuff. But then, I just kind of dropped weight, and I didn't change anything else other than that. So, and I went down a couple of sizes pretty quickly. But then, like I said, as soon as I changed, I went back to the regular weight that I was at, and that's where I remain. So that's kind of where I have been. But up to this point, like I said, I haven't needed anything else. I am now pretty regular. It's a little bit, it's like usually 32 to 34 days, but that's pretty consistent. And like I said, I'm 45 years old. So that might help somebody. I don't know who it's going to help. Now, the reason it might help is because there's other forms of progesterone other than Clomid that you can get. I have tried the progesterone cream, but that was hard to keep up with just because my schedule at the time, I was in school, I was working full time, all of this kind of stuff. I couldn't consistently keep up with it. And the creams are a little bit expensive, but there are forms of progesterone if you want to do that you can do. I think they're considerably less potent than Clomid. In fact, I would say they are considerably less potent because they are over the counter and Clomid is not. And I was using Clomid as the brand name, or the official name, but of course there's generic versions and other kinds of versions as well. But anything that is like an encapsulated form of progesterone that you would consume, that would be different. That's something you have to get a prescription from. But you could use a cream or something like that. So what you might want to do is go to the doctor. If the doctor agrees and puts you on Clomid for a few months, and then later you feel like you're staying regular and you want to continue to try to stay regular, then go to the cream. Now, I have done that when I was on Clomid before, on the actual Clomid in the US. Before, I would go off it, and immediately within a month or two, my body was back to its irregular, wonky, up and down sort of thing. So I don't know if there was actually a difference, but I did check the micrograms in the what I was taking in Haiti versus what I was taking in the United States, and it seemed to be pretty consistent. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I don't know how the differences in production or all of that stuff might be. So keep that in mind, that different things can affect the results differently. Your body can affect the results. Where you are, I mean, my age might have affected it. There could have, my walking, it could have been my environment, because when I went to Haiti, I was suddenly in an environment where there was so much less stress. I mean, I was extremely happy. I loved it there. I loved the environment. Plus, I was getting all this sunshine. So I didn't have the vitamin D deficiency that we in the Northern Hemisphere tend to have. So there were so many things that were in my favor that I think helped as well. So it might not have just been the progesterone medication, but I do think that played a major role in it. Hopefully that will help somebody. I really hope it does. And I really hope that it helps people who are younger than myself, so you can manage this before it really kind of consumes so much of your young, fertile life. I mean, whether or not you want to have children, it's nice to have that option to have children, or at least feel like you are somewhat in control of your reproduction. So that's my little spiel on what I did and how I dealt with it. And hopefully that helps. I'm really interested in hearing your feedback. Again, this is not medical advice. I'm not giving any sort of medical advice. I'm simply giving my experience and telling you how that may or may not translate to your own situation. And it's worth looking into. It's worth examining to see what happens. I don't know. Check it out. Do some research. Don't be a dummy. Don't just jump into something and try to get something illegally imported or something. You don't want to deal with all that. Don't decide to move into, Haiti or somewhere else for a year or so you can do the self-medication. But, hey, it is your body. You have the right to your own body. And I don't think that regulations that are so, all these regulations that the government wants to put on everything, I think are kind of ridiculous, especially when they're saying, well, it's your body. You can do what you want, except for this, and this. Doesn't make sense. I mean, it's your body. Do what you want. But don't be a dummy. You're adults. Be responsible. Okay, so talking about these palettes, the next one that I got. So if you've been with me, you know that I love the LA Girl 16 pan palettes. And last, like 2 weeks ago or something like that, I got another one to my collection. And then they had the little 9 pan palettes. And I said I wanted to try that and see how it compared. And even though it's neutral, which I'm okay with because I can do neutral, but they are beautiful, gorgeous neutrals. So I have that up here. And I don't remember what it's called, but it's like Party something, which is funny because it's all neutral. But there's a set of 9 pan palettes from LA Girl that are available at Ulta and also I think on the LA Girl site and maybe somewhere else. They are fantastic. They are very good. I've tried one of them. So I tried the more cool tone that has like the grayish silvers and that sort of thing in it. It's beautiful. Highly recommended. So back to the 16 pans. I was all excited about getting the last of the current 6. If that makes sense. So there's the original 2 that are the Hot Heat. Those are no longer offered on LA Girl, but they are offered elsewhere, and I'm hoping that I can still get those elsewhere, even though the price is a little bit higher, but I'm willing to pay it because I really want to have the collection, and I love all these palettes. So they had 2 that came out that were okay, let me think of how these go. There's 2 that they're almost more late summer, early fall sort of collection. So one is a purple and one is a gold palette. And what they do is they usually come out in 2s. They do always come out in 2s with these 16 pan palettes, and they have kind of complementary. That's the word. Complementary color stories that work together. And so they have, in this one set, they have one that's a purple themed and one that's a gold themed. And I feel like those are kind of late summer, early fall sort of vibes. Then they have another one that they recently came out that was more festival vibes. And they have the on stage and the VIP. I think that's what they're called. One is pinks and bright yellows and greens, greenish chartreuse sort of thing. And the other one is bright blues, greens, purples, I think that's, and silvers. So really bright, very bright, kind of in your face, gorgeous colors. So those 2 came out together. Again, they usually do like a cool and a warm sort of theme. Then they had another one, and I don't know like what the sequence of how these came out. They had another one that one is like half neutral in the palette, and then the bottom are kind of like your primary colors, but they're not primary. They're much more deep and subdued and whatnot, but they're bold. They're more like gem. I would call them like gem sort of colors, gemstone colors. What do they call that? Gemstone? Is that what we're calling them? Jewel toned colors. So like these rich, pretty jewel tone sort of colors. And so those are at the bottom, along with a couple silvers and that sort of thing. There's like 2. There's a blue matte and a blue shimmer, and then a green matte and green shimmer, and a orangish matte and shimmer, and then like a grayish, and then a silver. So that's another set. And then the other one that complemented that was more of just a neutral, but kind of neutral with a twist. So it had like more mauves and, like not just browns, but different kinds of tones of shimmers, neutrals. I don't know why I said shimmers. Anyway, so I love these palettes because the formulas are so beautiful. The color stories are great. The pans are enormous comparatively. Kind of reminds me of the Juvia's place, where they're just so generous with the product, although you don't necessarily need that much, but hey, it's okay to have. And then the way the shimmers perform is absolutely gorgeous. The way the mattes perform is absolutely gorgeous. I have not had any problems. I haven't seen anything that I don't love. So I happened to be looking through and saw that they had 2 new ones. And I went, oh, you got 2 new ones? I haven't even gotten the first 2 yet. And the first 2 are also kind of complimentary. One's more cool, one's more warm. But they're more like, to me, they're more springy almost. They're like a little bit light and airy and really beautiful. Kind of a combination of neutrals and color. But these new ones they came out with are these ones. Hey, hey, vacay. Which is an interesting name. And everybody's like, now that we're all COVIDed out, we're like over it. Okay, we're over the coronavirus. Let's just move on with life. Like, you know, okay, all right, you know, it's time to move on. So this is what we've got. These two, I feel like I've got to show them like right side by side. These really are the warm and cool equivalent of each other. So this is what we've got. Let's see if I can do this without blinding you with the mirrors. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, there we go. So clearly you've got the cool tone and the warm tone. So with both of these, they have quite a bit of neutral in them, but it's not really, I'll show you this one here. So this is I'm trying to read it upside down. Good Times and Tan Lines is what this one's called. So it goes all the way to the quite deep and then quite light. This is a matte, this is a shimmer. This is a matte, this is a shimmer, and it pretty much is equal. Yeah, it is equal. So we've got, each row has 2 mattes and 2 shimmers. And for the most part, you have a complementary shimmer with the matte of the same tone, which is really cool. These greens in here are really gorgeous. They are a teal sort of color, but you've got this one that goes quite light and this one that goes quite dark. And they are gorgeous and foiled. I mean, I didn't dig in at all. That's what you've got. And this is what they're going to swatch like. I don't want to blind you guys. So that's what they're going to swatch like. And I know swatches don't necessarily tell everything, but I think with shimmers, they do tell a little bit more accurately what's going on. I'm going to swatch a couple of these neutrals. This time I will actually clean my fingers so that I make sure I'm not blending them together. So I'm going to get like the deeper of the green, the teal green, and the deeper of the orange color. And that's what they look like on the fingers. Again, I just lightly rubbed into that. And there's the green. Kind of rub that out a little bit. And then there's the orange, sort of apricot sort of color. Really gorgeous. And I don't know if this is really, because these are quite warm here. So I don't know if I would call it warm and cool as much as maybe bright and more subdued as far as the two palettes. This other one, I'm going to close this one so I don't stick my finger in. Now there are a couple of colors in between the two of them that look quite similar. These browns, for example, between the two palettes, you've got these 4 browns. And on this one, it's the bottom row, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're pretty similar. There's a lot of similarities between those 4 in each of those palettes. They do go a little bit lighter on the one, but, and then they're also, this one is more gold than the other. But this one does have almost a complete, what looks to be a complete dupe right here. In fact, I'm curious because this is the overlay. So on this one, they have the names on here that are the overlay, and I took these off. But I'm curious if either of these have the same name. I don't think so. They all have different names. So they don't apparently see them as the same. Let me see. I'm going to swatch these two and see if they look the same to me. They are different, but they're really similar. So this one is more warm, and this one is a little bit more cool, but they're really close. So that's what they look like swatched. You can see it's really just a tone difference. There's not much. The other one is there's a peach color, like a golden peach. I think that's the other main one that I would say looks really similar between the two. I'm going to let my hand dry for a second because I just Cleaned it on a wipe. They do look different. And this one in the under the palms, that's this one. That one looks, this one's more chunky. It's this loose variety of shimmer that they have that really, you kind of have to rub it in to get it to not do that, where it's kind of, oh, can you see, where it's kind of bubbling up? You have to rub it a few times because it will separate, but then when it lays down, it's really foiled and gorgeous. This is the one from the Tan Lines, whatever that one was. So they're very similar, but this one, you can't tell really well on this lighting. This one's lighter and this one's darker, but they're very similar in tone. Those are really the only ones. Other than that, you pretty much have unique colors here. These are not as exciting to me as some of the other ones, but they are really, really beautiful. And if it was, I think that what they did was perfect because they did kind of the same color story with two different tilts. So you can get one or the other. I think normal people are not going to buy both of these. And I don't think they should. I don't think they need to. But I do think I'm going to swatch these two green ones just because they're so pretty and I want to. And I can, and you can't stop me. But yeah, I don't think you don't need to buy both of them, and I don't think you should buy both of them. That's what they look like on the fingers. You can see, like, come on, there we go. You see how like foiled those are? I mean, they're just gorgeous. And then this is what they look like on the arm. So really beautiful, beautiful greens, golden greens. So yeah, I think, I mean, you can look at these one of two ways. It could be that this one is your summer version and this one is your like almost fall version. It could be day and night. It could be, how else do we want to look at this? Basically, it could just be your preference. If you like the brighter colors, go with this one. If you like the deeper colors, go with this one. I don't think you need both of them. I need both of them because I'm collecting the whole range. But yeah, normal people wouldn't need both of them. But definitely check these out. If these color stories intrigue you at all, they are really, really beautiful. I wish that these palettes would be more better. That they would be better promoted and better reviewed, because I think everybody, if you've looked at any reviews for any of these palettes, I have never seen anybody give a bad review or even mediocre review. Everybody's like, these are great palettes. They work great. They blend great. They're beautiful. They're, great performance, etc. But then you don't hear anything else about them. And so, but then it's interesting because I've seen so many people when they're like, the end of the month review, and they're going against, Natasha Denona. They're going against, all of the big names, whether it's indie or not. Indie or mainstream, and these, if they have these in the mix, these are in the top 3 almost inevitably. I haven't seen these two be reviewed, but for the other ones that I have seen reviewed from the 16 pan range, always they're at the top of the rankings for anybody that I've seen review them and kind of arrange them with the other ones. But then you just don't hear about them anymore, and I think it's just they're not gaining enough momentum, and there's not enough buzz around them. So people are like, well, what do I want that for? Also, I don't think that's very appealing. I don't think the packaging is that great. Now, the packaging it's nice and sturdy. I mean, these are solid. They have a nice big mirror, good quality mirror. They are the old ones. I think they're a little bit easier to open. Yeah, these ones are easier to open than the other ones. The other ones were really hard to open, but these ones you can pull apart a lot easier. They have the name on the back of all of the colors, which is nice. They also have these inside, but I take them out because they're annoying unless they start to crumble. With some of the others, they had certain colors that would crumble a little bit in shipping. So I have gotten 2 of them shipped to me that were crumbled, where it was one of the colors like this. These are not pressed glitters. These are all just really foiled. So there are no pressed glitters in any of these. I highly recommend. Plus, if you go to Ulta, these are $15.99, and then you can use your $3.50 off coupon, and then they're less. So I actually went and I rang these up separately and got the $3.50 off both. You can do that. If you don't know that, you can go to Ulta. You can actually say, I want to ring these up separately and use a $3.50 coupon on each of them. And they'll say, okay, let me have the coupon. You have to have the coupon. So if you've got the app, you should have it. So that's basically all I've got. Some palettes, some PCOS talk, chilling with me. Thank you all to those who joined. It was fantastic to have people popping in here. And we'll see how this goes. I will try to continue to do this at 9 p.m. Central instead of 10 p.m. Central. I think that time frame just works better for people, including myself. And one of these days we'll have Rainbow join. She went back into her bed. Oh, she's on the couch because she says mommy's not giving her attention, so she's going to take a little nap. So I got to go cuddle with my pup before it's time to go to bed. And maybe play with makeup a little bit too. We'll see how that works out. But great having you guys here. Consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, following, all those good things so that we can keep this going. And remember, once I get to 5K on IG, I will be doing a giveaway. And participation in my live streams will actually be a part of that. So just letting you know. So yeah, if you are on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, I'm old. I don't remember all these things. You get that FaceTube. No, if you are on YouTube, consider following me on IG, because that's where I put like the looks for all of this stuff, and I get more information and more interaction and all that kind of jazz. So I will see you guys in the next one, Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Time, or Wednesday at 9 Central Standard Time. See you then. Bye. And we're out. And we're out. And we're out. And I keep thinking my computer's a touch screen. It's not.